Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join us on a journey where we unravel the intricacies of workplace dynamics. I was talking to Charles. I love that. As I mentioned, a little cringy still. We got to work on that. Re-record that audio because it's something that we started. And as I've interviewed guests and kind of talked to people, what do I think I want to get out of it, and what can the show be about? And it's opportunity to meet so many interesting people on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn. And so I use LinkedIn a lot, Charles. And anybody that sends me an email, I talk to. I have some chat with, unless it's just something I don't really, have an interest in. So is it fun? It was fun to talk to you. I call you like a pod. I thought I was doing a lot of podcasting. Last year I probably did about 400 shows or 300 and something shows. And then I met you, and you have a whole different idea of what to do with a podcast and how to utilize it as a tool. And that's also as a gift. So I think you've got kind of a cool thing going, a gift and a tool all at the same time. So maybe, Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now.
Yeah, let's do a brainstorm exercise, like keywords that come to mind when I think of myself. Serial entrepreneur, I think, is the first one. Used to be founder, but serial entrepreneur is important because it means that you're in the game for long. Like a lot of people, they tag themselves as founder temporarily nowadays just to have the title because it's all it's like all hippie and super cool. But me, what I love is liberty. Libertarian would be another term. So using entrepreneurship to free myself up, live a great life, a great lifestyle, have 4 dogs, live in Mexico here, have a beautiful smart wife, and we love going out with the dogs every day on the ATV, having a nice bike ride with them. I'm an ultra runner as well, so love running with them in the mountains. My backyard is our mountains, quite literally, Sierra Madre in Oaxaca. Another term for me, I guess, wannabe yogi. Say wannabe because I mentioned that yesterday. I lost my shit. So it's like on and off, I'm more of a rationalist, a scientist, a singularist. So I'm one of these believers that think that AGI will do good for this world, and I'm seeking that. And I guess a friend, I'd love to work more on that aspect as well. Like I'm seeking to create a community here in Oaxaca because I have masterminds in Canada and the US. On the business side of things, podcasting is great. Getting to learn from human, talk to them, network with them. It's free publicity. And it's pretty fun. It reaches my ikigai for sure. The mastermind thing, the cold email thing. So I'm a sales guy. Started making my 200 calls a day, just like you started on Wall Street. And I love meeting and brainstorming with cool people. I'm an eternal student. I read probably 5 to 10 Wikipedia biographies on a daily basis. I've crunched 500 books. I love numbers and I love quantity. So pretty obsessed with that.
Yeah. That was when I started I have another podcast, Mental Health Today. When I started that, I really went after quantity. Just and I was inspired by this Indian gentleman who interviewed me on his show, and he was using StreamYard, and he was doing about 3 a day. And I just met him and I was doing this other one, a physical podcast, The Jar, where I have to, like make the appointment, come to your house, set up the equipment, do the post-production. And it was so heavy. And so I met, I'm going to forget his name, but I met him and we hung up and he's like, yeah, it's live. And okay, I got to go. I got another show. And I thought, wow, like he's meeting so many interesting people every day, hearing stories and just absorbing it somehow, all this information, and then sharing it, giving people a platform.
It's like two approaches, right? Quality and quantity.
Yeah. How do you balance those two? Because that's tricky.
Yeah, it is. Maybe because I A/B tested quality before, taking the time and so forth. Maybe because I have huge objectives. Maybe because it's like the thought, and that is another philosophical conversation. But mean, there's people being raped right now as we speak,
Yeah.
right? So, should I help like one or two of them, or should I develop a system to help them all? You
Ye-
know, I think the latter is more cold-hearted. It's like, okay, yeah, or it might be an excuse. Who knows? It might be an excuse to face reality
yes.
as well.
Yes.
Because I'm a huge believer in helping someone first. I'm a startup guy, product market fit guy, 0 to 1 guy, and yeah, I very much advise like helping one person, taking notes, feedback, and growing out of
Mm,
that. So anyway, to come back to the podcast quality and quantity question, me, what I like about quantity is that I feel that it should be somewhat effortless to run a good interview with someone interesting that really lived many events in their lives. And right now, and since forever, I'm pretty much obsessed with the bang that I can get out of my energy buck. So right now, I invest
mm,
very few energy in outreaching to ICPs, ideal customer persona, for my podcast titles, their growth rate, have they got funding, for example. And from there, if they respond, I send them a template to qualify them. So I
yes.
like to think that I'm getting quality as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do get bad quality every now and then, and I kind of struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my I think as well, my learning. I try to do my best filtering in the beginning and then hope the back end was open. And every once in a while, I would miss my own filter was wrong. And I would look at a booking and kind of go, oops, oh goodness. Oh
Yeah,
goodness. Uh
but
and
you
yeah.
still give strangers a platform, and I think there's heart in this.
Yeah, you
If
can't
even
back down, right? And at that point, and you're all, and sometimes I'm surprised. Quite honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah, like me, maybe a bit less. I don't know, but yeah, I love at least giving them the link to the
Yeah.
recording, or making it unpublished on YouTube so that only them have access and they can
Okay.
pitch it to their audience. Plus, I give them podcasting experience, right? Because a
Yes.
lot of people have the jitters when they come on a pod; they're nervous as hell,
Yeah, yeah.
and I give them an experience, and that's right now it's my gift to the world, but. I feel I'm not doing enough on the contribution part, like
Mm,
Tony Robbins' contribution area. At some point, I've been better at that, but maybe, yeah, I need to figure out something to help the world better nowadays. Because my vision 5 to 7 years ago used to be like make the world a better place. I thought that was too broad. I did act upon that in many ways, but yeah, nowadays maybe I'm a bit too capitalistic, and maybe I should give out a bit
mm.
more.
I think that's an okay vision. I think then, I'm just writing my next book. I call it Dear Leaders, and it's letters to leaders based on stuff, experiences that I've seen from other leaders, like stuff that I kind of gleaned from people watching. And um, one of that is on the mission vision, and I always kind of go back and forth on this, like, what's the vision? What's the vision? Which is first, and how does this work? And so I finally sat down and spent a good half day kind of getting my head squared back around it. So for me, that vision can be something really big and esoteric, and then you're going to pull a piece of that out, and will be your mission. And so I think you could keep the vision long term, and I think the mission you could kind of, as long as it's within fulfilling a part of that clear vision. So making the world a better place, a lot of ways you can do it, and just, come up with a couple new missions every 6 months or every year.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, and certainly A/B test some of that. I think it needs to be rooted in reality in the present, because else you just lose touch, and it's like there's no serotonin in the mix. How am I contributing to make the
Oh,
world
yeah,
a
you're not
better
yeah.
place? Precisely, I need images, I need numbers, most likely in that goal, and I need
Yeah,
people. Because as humans, I think we resonate in people. Who would I love to be? I don't have many humans I'd love to live their lives, but
yeah,
and Elon doesn't even qualify as that. Although Elon is a top star for me in business, but Tony Robbins and probably number one Sam Altman um, has this amazing tool
yeah,
ChatGPT, and I think he's just revolutionizing the world, and he's adding tons of value, and not necessarily to poor people, quote unquote, but to folks like me that may help, that may cascade down the road, like business people that use ChatGPT on a daily basis to just
Yeah.
get smarter. So, and then how do you create your own LLM and your own chat? This is a nightmare in itself. You need to raise hundreds of millions. You need to hire very
Yes.
smart people. And as you can see with OpenAI, it's just a total mess. Humans are just a mess to deal with. I'm pride myself, quote unquote, on having hired and fired 1,000 employees. I think you saw that in our pod.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
quite harsh, that line, by the way. I'm always A/B testing stuff. I might remove that one, but point is, yeah, I've managed a bunch of humans, and I could probably use a read with your dear leader book, because I think I've been a good boss at times, but yeah, at some other points, I think I lost my shit. Um, like a lot of humans, and
Well,
yeah, I
especially
went like,
serial
oh, I'm
entrepreneurs, right? I mean, you're just wired differently than an employee,
right.
and that connection's hard sometimes to make.
Yeah, nowadays it's mostly me and my AIs, so then automation, and yeah, thank God for that, because yeah, the economy right now is sort of on life support. Well, in my niche and in a lot of people's niche, that could be another topic, but yeah, it's like, how can I develop a product that helps that
Mm,
many people, like millions? Yeah, that's still a floating question.
yeah, and I mean, you are, and I'm a perfect kind of an example, right? I gave up the corporate stuff for spreading a message, hearing people's stories, transition to added on mental health, but still commercializing that, monetizing it, building a media brand in a way is kind of what I'm looking at now. It's kind of what I think I'm transitioning to.
I love that.
How to make that successful and how to get that out there, especially if you feel like you're doing, I always believe the universe hates an imbalance. And if you put out something got some value and you think it's got value, and if it does, hopefully the universe finds you. If not, maybe you when you're dead, people find you. But I still think if you're doing good stuff, doing good content, putting it out there in volume and enough volume to reach people and enough quality where they're not going to turn you off, it's the right way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Podcasting is lowest buck energy buck for your bang, for sure. It's very
Yeah.
ikigai-ish as well. Have
Yeah.
fun.
Oh,
You're
so much
learning.
so.
Yeah, and the part that you're really good and that I'm not, and that I'd like to get better, is the heart part, and
Mm.
probably the quality is related to that. I can practice empathy more and be like more grateful. I think it ebbs and flows. These things been like onto this spiritual life for like the last 7 years. So depends at what moment you catch me, right after a 10 day
Yes.
silent retreat, or right now. Um, so yeah, I'd love to get better at this, and really, I think I'm a good researcher. I'm very efficient. I think that's my main quality, and that's also like a double-edged sword, because as I
Oh.
told you yesterday, I got pissed at waiting for someone at the mall for 2 hours, and yet I was like, "Yo, this is not efficient. It's not efficient." But yeah, do you think AI is gonna help?
Oh,
Uh,
no, I don't think AI is gonna help you on that. I think that's gonna put you in the wrong way.
yeah.
I think because AI just it has, this 24/7, never sleeps, it's always there.
Yeah, I have good
You know
intuition too. I can understand people fairly quickly, and I think one of my qualities, like getting, I'm not afraid, so I will
Mm,
ask taboo questions that most will not ask, and I won't offend the people as well the way I ask it.
yeah,
Because why? Because it comes from a spot of honesty and curiosity.
curio
I think a lot of people don't have
curiosity.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you're also getting, you're good at hosting. You're getting better at it. So there's also an art to that, right? And you have some grace being an interviewer. You can cross some lines, like the gray line's not so fat. It's a little bit thinner. You go, there's a little more room to play because they're on a show. And then you get good at asking these questions. And then if it comes from a place of curiosity, you know,
Yeah, I used to
touchdown.
listen to this show. Nate Latka, he's great. He's a VC and a serial entrepreneur. His show is called The Top. He was really confrontational on his show, and he would always piss people off. Some podcasts would literally end with people leaving.
Well, that's
Um,
the I'd want to watch every show
yeah, but at what
unless
cost?
he's just
You're gonna
unless he's
lose your
just a
heart,
rude.
and you're gonna become a Trump.
Oh yeah,
And
if you're
yeah,
just doing it for
that is very self-destructive. That's not scalable. Me, I'm all about scale. I want to live forever. I want to reach
yeah.
singularity, like Brian Johnson.
Okay.
And there's also this guy that I interview on my pod, and he's one of my mentors, Andrew Warner, the host of Mixergy, which you probably know. It's a top 10 entrepreneurship show. And the first time Andrew came on my pod, he actually dissed me and my businesses. I was like interviewing him, and he was like, dude, I see all your business. I don't know what the fuck you're about. Um, and I mean, he has a point, right? Like sometimes it hurts. Like, yeah, I'm like in many directions. I'm not distracted. I am ADHD at base, but I focus that energy very well, I think. And I'm very much of a specialized generalist. I'm very good at many things. Polymath's also like a
Yeah,
synonym to
yeah.
that, not want to toot my own horn. But anyway, this guy came on my pod, dissed me. I ended the pod really uncomfortable. I had like one hard lesson in one of my first 10 podcasts as well with forgot his name. Maybe my brain deleted it consciously, but he's a top productivity guy in Silicon Valley. I'll remember his name. You probably know him. And anyway, with Andrew, the first pod was like that, and the second one, he actually apologized and was like, "Yeah, it was a bit harsh." And he gave me this second interview. By the way, I need to
Yeah.
re-invite him on a yearly basis because this guy is tip top on his podcast. I mean, he doesn't get people to leave out of frustration, but he does challenge them quite harshly.
Yeah, and if you're cracking for the right reasons, if the questions are out of curiosity, challenging you, and this is what he does, right? I mean, he's
I think he comes from a place of content, which is not.
oh,
I
okay.
mean, there is curiosity, but I think capitalism it blurs the line sometimes, and that's
Yeah.
when people lose their shit.
You
Like
kind
they're
of
like, okay, this
shark.
guy is asking me question to put me on the spot. It's like this
Yeah.
PR method, right? If you
Yes.
see
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Adam Newman being interviewed or Sam Bankman, they really want to push them. So, and I don't think that's ethical. I don't think that's cool either. When you have
No. No.
someone just to diss them on air and all your questions are like negative, yeah, that I
No.
think
No.
it's
If
crossing a
content,
line.
if it's curiosity, that's okay. But if you're doing it from a trying to drive content, bad. Yeah. Muy malo for me.
Muy mal,
Yeah.
hombre.
Yeah. That's very bad. Um, Very interesting. So what do you think's next? What do you see? Because you're serial, you're creative, you're evolving. You've been doing this one for a while. What's it showing you?
Well, life is really interesting, like life doesn't get easier, but your mind gets like stronger, sort of. But yeah, you always have these unexpected bumps in the road, and I think you
Hmm.
can choose to dance with them or obsess with them and go down to the bottom of the barrel with these demons. So, been an entrepreneur for 10 years, traveled the world with my wife and assistant for probably 5. Um, and we settled here in Oaxaca. I guess that's the new phase. Got married, um, laid off all my employees. Like have AIs and automations working very well for me. Have this
Wow.
podcasting that I'm scaling. So
Wow.
two KCOs interviewed and a bunch of founders, VCs, constantly experimenting. So this is fun, but yeah, there's crunch times, in which I don't get enough leads, for example, in which being impatient. I think it's about like constantly experimenting and having fun creating things. So me, my creative outlet is cold email. So any idea that I have business wise or even fun wise, like I started the philosopher wisdom
Ah.
podcast, I just test them via cold email. And I think connecting with human is an AI mode. So to your question, what's coming? Well, singularity is coming for sure.
Yeah, you're chasing it. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'm preparing for the AI age that's already upon us. Most people are ostriching themselves out of like this thing that is upon us right now. I think there's many wonderful things that are going to happen. There's like so many cool trends in this market. My main crusade nowadays, like my main vision, we were talking about that when we started, is mostly like converting as many people into entrepreneurship, like some kind of
Yes. Okay.
missionary, which is, yeah, really odd to say because I'm not for missionaries that converted folks in Latam to Christianity. That
Yeah.
who knows? Like people might hate on entrepreneurship in 1,000 years from now and view me as this unethical person. But I think entrepreneurship is a force of good. I think entrepreneurs are building the world. It's a safe shot, and then yeah, probably still trying to figure out thesis, keep on testing stuff, and yeah, like making good in others' life. I guess that's really what's next in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's this as you're talking, I'm kind of thinking about my own, almost answering the question of my own self, where does it all lead and all this learning? Because you're in that process, you're in that learning and you're in the doing part. And I guess in that doing part, there's always that learning piece. And then how are you going to kind of shape the vision forward, right? Where are you going to go? But if you've got that vision, I think that kind of guides you. That keeps you true. That gives you a good true north.
But do you ever get out of that doing part? Do you ever get out of the learning and experimenting phase?
I don't think you should. I think that's when you die, right? Isn't that when you're dead?
Well,
That
yeah,
I think that's when you begin to at
retirement.
least yeah, I think that's when your soul, that's when I think your brain starts to slow down if you stop learning and doing all this
Or when you stop
experimenting and
feeling pain, also, I think.
hmm,
I mean, we could argue on that, but I've been on these meditation retreats. I think you did as well, if my memory's
yeah,
good. And
yeah,
I, I mean, you have the choice, right? You could be a monk forever and yeah, sit still, but have no impact on the world. I mean,
yeah,
there
this is
might be some quantum stuff going on, but I don't believe in that, or we don't have like solid proof that like sitting and sending good vibes and praying for people is improving the world. And I chose to not do that. And same for relationship. I think relationships are painful. Like love is painful,
yes.
but it puts you into accountability. It puts you
Hmm,
into improvement because you see a reflection of yourself. I would never be able to see a reflection of myself if I wouldn't have these occasional fights, with my wife, for example. So it really puts a mirror on me, and that hurts, because I'm like, I still don't have my shit together.
yeah, I
Um,
thought I was cooler than this.
yeah, but and life is also interesting because it can throw like 1,000 shades, different shades on you. And if it throws this specific shade at this specific time with this specific amount of data in your brain, you will react this way. So, but I think pain is growth as well. So depends on how much amount of it. It's like stress vs stress type of question.
Yeah. Well, there's I think if you're aware of what's happening, maybe when you were younger and you're at the mall waiting for, same situation where you're like, oh, what is going on? What is going on? I'm losing my mind. Okay. And then you just go down and you jump on the roller coaster very willingly, pay the ticket and enjoy the ride of being pissed off and everything else. And you even get into like you hold on to that for like a day and a half. If you're really let into it, like you'll be pissed off for a day and a half. But if you
Literally.
catch it, I think if you catch yourself now, if you're aware and you're like, okay, whoa, what's happening? And you still can't stop it totally, but you're putting the brakes on and you're getting off the ride before it does the loopy loops.
Yeah. Various models here, like, yeah. Because spirals exist, like momentum goes in both ways. Yeah, I'm always in the positive momentum,
Yes.
starting my day, going to run the dogs, get some sunlight, and
Oh,
that
that
leads to a
just
sauna. That leads to me closing this deal, writing some stuff. But yeah, sometimes shit can go the other opposite way. I think it's like training for future potentially harmful situations. The harmful situations is like when you die, right? It's when you took so much stress and sabotaged yourself so much that you make this fatal error. I don't know. You drive a car. A good example of that, I was studying Joe Louis, right? The boxer, black boxer,
Yeah.
the first guy to really like put black people on the map, and
Yes.
arguably before Muhammad Ali. And he died because he got rejected off this segregated dinner, drove off angrily with his friend, and crashed his car.
Oh, really?
Boom, in a pole. So that's a good scenario in which you don't want to end up, and you need this pain and this training before you get there. Now you might lose a couple of hard cells in between because yeah, these things they hurt.
Yeah.
To question yourself and these setbacks, but the beauty of the human race and any animals basically is that we tend to grow. Animals mostly like physically, us humans we have a lot of neural cells up there, so yes, you learn and forge new paths and become more resilient.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. What a story though, man. Holy cow. What a story. Lost his anger, lost control of himself, and then you lose your life. That's a pretty extreme example. Pretty extreme example, right? You want to definitely control yourself. There's a don't do that.
Yeah, and Joe Louis, I mean, we all have our flaws, right? A lot of men, we don't control our testosterone as well. Like this guy, Joe Louis, was all about like not sleeping with white women because, what's his name? Something Johnson, which was the best boxer before him, did sleep with a bunch of white women, and that tarnished the like people's image. But anyway, he had like six wives, and frequently frequented prostitutes. So that's this balance right there. Like I partnered not so long ago with friend and mentor of mine that I met on the pod. By the way, that's all.
Mm.
That's how I meet billionaires and all these cool people. And yeah, it's Satyen Raha is his name, and he organizes tantra retreats just to
Oh,
understand that
okay.
sexual energy. I think that
Yeah.
sexual energy is like often sabotaging us men's life, and we're not even conscious of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I've been reading about that lately, talking about controlling it and the power of it. And Jim Carrey was talking on a couple of podcasts or interviews. He was really get like he's apparently become a student, and he's talking about
Like
it.
no sex.
Yeah, and like the power of it, and like the shape of the chemical is like an angel, and it goes down to yeah, like like he had some like crazy,
Jim is
crazy.
very metaphysical.
Yeah, it was really a bananas out there interview, but he was talking about how like when you push it down, and then when it comes back up to your pineal gland or up to the highest chakra, that what this can do for your enlightenment. Like, and I don't, sounds like yogi. This is heavy yogi stuff, and
Yeah, Jim is cool though. Like he was I think in the entrepreneurial world, he's known for like cutting himself checks of $1 million before he actually banks them. So that's how most like entrepreneurs know him. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna be an actor next year. I'm gonna earn
yeah,
$1 million. And then he had The Mask, and he had all these great
yeah,
movies. I think yeah, Jim is definitely on the creative and cuckoo woo woo side of
yeah,
things. I
yeah.
mean, he's quite successful, but yeah, he's had interviews that, and that's a good question, right? Like, how much how much can you go far away from your ego and your soul before you start being cuckoo and losing track of things?
Ooh,
I think
interesting.
he goes really far from that, and sometimes you face the danger of not finding yourself ever again.
Not being anchored, right?
Yeah,
That's an interesting. Well, that's a kind of a heavy, Charles. That's kind of I didn't know we'd go there. You're right. If you do venture far enough away from your ego, if you totally, how do you find it again? There a possibility that you really do lose yourself,
psychosis. That's what they call it.
and ultimately it's psychosis. Interesting.
Yeah,
If you
these
really,
medical terms, right? Like it's
yeah,
Yeah, I think you and I, we could create psychosis on ourselves if we would like, yeah, really put ourselves in like one definite environment. I've done these dark room retreats.
Yeah.
Not that I faced anything like psychosis there. Your melatonin is your melatonin secretion by your own brain is increased in these moments. Not sure insights that I had from there, but yeah, I think people can stimulate psychosis on themselves and really lose touch with reality. It's really like this brain muscle that distinguish what is real and what is not, which is a tricky question in
Mm.
itself, because when you observe something apparently quantically, it modifies itself, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's I think where the manifestation thing comes from. It's like anything you can think of, well, you repeat, right? Like us humans, we're
Yes.
systems, we're cells, and that's how ultimately you can reach humongous goals like finishing ultras, being billionaires, and so forth.
I just that common knowledge, but not so talked about, that everything you see has been created in the mind first. Anything man-made, a rocket ship, a computer, a microchip, no matter how many times you magnify it and you're amazed at like, oh wow, look at how small that is. Yeah, but somebody made that up in their mind. Everything you see was created in the mind. So the mind in a way is pretty, it's pretty amazing. It's a God gift.
Yeah,
It's godlike because it's the source of creation.
right. Was it because like, yeah, there's this evolutionary algorithm, there's this quote unquote mother nature. Seems to me that we got out of the race, or at least we're having a shot to get out of this race. And other than if we annihilate one another, which is another potentially scary possibility. But
Yeah.
like it seems that we got out of the algorithm because we can think for ourselves, or we like to think that. Maybe we're not. Maybe Mother
You're really
Nature
in
will
the
have the last word.
Yeah, or if you're really in the matrix, you think you're thinking for yourself.
Yeah, that could be a scenario also. The Matrix one. It seems like quite a simplistic one. Seems that, yeah, this fiction author should come up with a new one. Have we got any good fiction lately? Like Dune seemed pretty good fiction, right? Or Blade
Yeah.
Runner, that was good fiction. Lately, it seems that we've got like on a hiatus of that. And maybe that's because we have so much technology to our hands, or if we're like conditioned to use all this technology and have a predefined version of what the world should be. And yeah, it's like the UX of common apps. Like in the future, will the UX look the same way? Like who will go off
Oh,
the
yeah.
beaten path and recreate like the box, right?
It's gonna well, I think with AI, there's so many ways it's gonna go. All good, lots of good and lots of bad and lots of stuff in the middle.
But AI
Um,
is in the box, right? Because it's created by humans. So it plays in the box. AI is
uh,
creating other boxes. That would be
yeah,
AGI.
yeah, yeah.
That would be, yeah, that would be very, very odd. Would it create a box for us or for itself? Uh, and then we
Ooh,
wouldn't understand the boxes it's creating.
if it creates a box for itself, we will not understand it, and that could be trouble.
Yeah, because it can just skyrocket. And I guess that's why a bunch of researchers on AI safety are scared, because imagine if we're having trouble catching up with ChatGPT, and understanding how it works and these tools. Like if it comes up with like a new theory of physics, and we can't even, most people still don't understand the Einstein's laws of
Yeah.
dynamics. So, and then I think the solution to that is like a Neuralink or something. It's like a chip that can drastically take more and drastically accelerate learning. Doesn't need my brain to sleep on it and then ferment on the idea for 100 days until I get the eureka / aha moment, which is
Yeah.
also chemically generated, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the
Aha
real
moment.
aha. It's like it's a chemical. It's serotonin generating my brain, making me think I'm smart.
And this is the best part. I just learned that too, not too long this past year. It's actually nothing to do with aha. It's a draw. It's actually a little dope. It's a little dope treat from your brain.
Yeah, just like anger. Yesterday I had cortisol in my blood. Loops of cortisol. So we can think that this Neuralink would also influence our biochemistry. It would release serotonin, and I would instantly not be pissed off anymore. Plus, it would generate a solution. You dumbass Charles, use your phone to write emails and go read something instead of being in your own head and frustrated at yourself.
Yeah, I can see you're getting agitated, Charles. Why don't you take a walk?
I did that yesterday twice. It didn't work.
It's still 2 hours, a long time.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, it's been awesome. I want to just watch your time. It's been an awesome conversation. Like I said, I wasn't sure where we'd go. I think it was pretty good. It's pretty fun chat.
Yeah, it is. Let's do that again.
We got to do it again. And I've got a couple people I want to introduce you to based on the conversation as well. Thanks everybody almost forgot. How do people find you?
Charles Cormier on Google.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. You'll find me. It's Charles and then Cormier.
Yeah.
And then I'll put that in the show link as well. We'll put that, maybe drop it in the chat on LinkedIn so we can circle it around. Charles, again, thanks so much. And thanks everybody for listening, supporting The Humanist. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Charles, hang around for 20 seconds. I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a second. Welcome to the Humanist Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Stearns. Join